Hi. Welcome to Kirstenbosch, guys. Sunlight. Sunlight provides the energy plants need to convert carbon dioxide and water into carbohydrates and oxygen. The carbohydrates produced by photosynthesis are used for vegetative and reproductive growth and to increase crop biomass. Because solar energy is needed for photosynthesis, it only occurs during daylight. Soil. Soil structure influences plant growth by affecting the movement of water, air, and nutrients to plants. For example, sandy soils have little or no structure, but often free draining. With higher clay contents, the soil structure strength increases, but its drainage ability often decreases. Water. Water is a common trigger for seed germination. Its uptake from the soil facilitates inorganic material nutrition, and its flux through vascular tissues of the plant circulates minerals and inorganic nutrients throughout the plant. They need water for many other reasons, such as photosynthesis, to create their own food, and to grow in stature and strength. Slope. Slope aspect is known to affect the diversity and density of plant communities. Sunny slopes retain less moisture because of the strong solar radiation and high evaporation. Therefore, plants on sunny slopes, such as grasses, are more likely to be drought and radiation resistant. Temperature. In particular, temperature is a critical factor affecting plant growth. Each plant species has a suitable temperature range. Within this range, higher temperatures generally promote shoot growth, including leaf expansion and stem elongation and thickening. However, temperatures above the optimal ranges suppress growth.
During sexual reproduction, the genetic material of two individuals is combined to produce genetically diverse offspring that differ from their parents. The genetic diversity of sexually produced offspring is thought to give species a better chance of surviving in an unpredictable or changing environment. Asexual reproduction is different to sexual reproduction, as it involves one parent and produces offspring that are genetically identical to each other and to the parent. Bryophytes thrive in damp, shady environments, but they can also be found in diverse and even extreme habitats, from deserts to Arctic areas. Water is required for reproduction in bryophytes, as the water is needed to carry the sperm to the egg. There is no pollination in bryophytes, so they do not have pollinators. Bryophytes produce spores, and they are dispersed in the wind when the conditions get dry. The spores that land in wet areas will then form more bryophytes. In general, species richness of pteridophytes is highest in cool and humid habitats, and is low not only in cold and arid habitats, but also in hot habitats. Because high temperatures lead to water stress, even in areas of high precipitation. Pteridophytes require water for their fertilization process. There is no pollination in pteridophytes, so they do not have pollinators. Pteridophytes produce spores, and they are dispersed in the wind when the conditions get dry. The spores that land in wet areas will then form more pteridophytes. Gymnosperms are adapted to live where fresh water is scarce during part of the year, or in the nitrogen-poor soil of a bog. Therefore, they are still the prominent phylum in the coniferous biome, or taiga, where the evergreen conifers have a selective advantage in cold and dry weather. Water is not needed for the reproduction, as the seeds are blown around by the wind. Pollination occurs by the wind in the conifers and the gingos. Gymnosperms use seeds for reproduction and are blown about by the wind until they find a mate. Angiosperms are highly variable in form. They include herbs, shrubs, trees, vines, and succulents. They occur in many different habitats, from forests, grasslands, and deserts, to aquatic and marine environments. Water is not needed as the seeds are dispersed by the wind. Pollen is also dispersed by the plant's pollinators, such as bees, birds, insects, and the wind. Angiosperms also use seeds as their reproductive structures. There are both male and female parts in an angiosperm. The male plant, known as the stamen, is used to release pollen into the air and onto the bodies of the pollinators. It includes the filament and anther. The anther is covered in pollen, and when it is touched by the pollinators, it puts the pollen on them. The female part of the plant is known as the carpel, which has the stigma, style, ovary, and ovule. The stigma is used to catch pollen from other plants and off of the pollinators. This is also where the pollen grain germinates. The style is used to block incompatible pollen from entering the ovule. The ovary contains ovules, which develop into seeds upon fertilization. The ovary itself will mature into a fruit, either dry or freshly, enclosing the seeds.